First announcement is that we're slightly delayed as we had an executive session to discuss a couple of litigation matters that were on the table as well as personnel issues. From there, we're going to move into our regular meeting. As soon as I find my agenda. Call to order.
Pledge allegiance.
Call to
Call
order.
order.
Councilman Ballas?
No, we're gonna have the Pledge of Allegiance first.
Sorry.
Missy, why don't you lead us in the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any preliminary announcements from council members? If not, we'll move into the roll. Missy?
Councilman Ballas?
Here.
Councilman Shields?
Here.
Councilman Botadian?
Here.
Councilman Brennan?
Here.
Councilman Foss?
Here.
Vice President Ingles?
Here.
President Boyd?
Present. Okay, we already took care of the presentation, the capital improvement plan. Bob, thank you very much. It's been a long time since we've seen one of those. We certainly have a lot of critical expenditures that are going to have to be made in the next several years. We have some public speakers that will be addressing council, many at the end. We ask that you limit your time to 3 minutes and avoid references to personalities and personnel-related issues. We'll now take public comments on agenda items 1 through 4. Oh, actually 1 through 12. Mr. Lewis, would you step to the podium, state your name and address?
Good evening, Mr. President and members of council and Mr. Mayor. My name is David Lewis. I live in West Homestead, so I guess I'm a foreigner. I want to ask you about item number 4, which suggests that you are applying for funds to upgrade the master plan. I would like to remind council that we have a master plan already in place. It's the only master plan that's been adopted by 3 boroughs in all of Allegheny County. We're really proud of that. It still is there. It does need upgrading, but I think that it should be done by the 3 boroughs together. We have now a 501c3 3 boroughs group, and one of our resolutions is to upgrade this plan. And I would suggest, Mr. President, that rather than Munhall go out alone and do this, it should be done comprehensively between our 3 boroughs together and our 3 boroughs group. 501c3 is the proper vehicle to do it. And as your great mayor already knows, we formed that master plan all together. He was one of the people who worked on it, and we're proud of it, and it's still in place, and it only needs some upgrading. It's still a very valid and strong master plan. So that is my comment on your item number 4. Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes, David, I'll just make one comment about that, is that we are working in conjunction with Homestead and West Homestead on it.
But are you working through a 501c3? We are the vehicle to do it.
We will address that when the motion comes up on the floor.
Put it up.
Anyone else on motions? Yes, step forward, sir. Scott.
Scott Stevens. On motion to pay bills for period June 16, 2015 to July 15, 2015, summarized as follows. Total is $1 million, a little bit over $1 million. However, can you care to get into any other, see you have a little etch here, but it doesn't equal $1 million to me, 24,000, you know.
No, it's $106,070.60.
Oh, okay, well then, that just doesn't look right to me. It looks like $1 million right here.
My copy.
That's a misprint.
My copy's 106, I guess I'm old.
So it is 106 million, there's no.
No, it's 1 million, 1 million.
$1,006,070.
There's no decimal point behind the $800,000 repayment on the tan loan, that's what's wrong.
That's just a misprint then, correct?
You forgot to put the .00.
So it should be 80 or 800?
$800,000 repayment on the tax anticipation note.
Of the debt service.
So it's $1.6 million.
Okay, it's $1.6 million, so then,
Bottom line's correct.
so it didn't have, okay, debt service, I didn't see that, sorry.
Does that answer your question, Scott?
Yes, it does, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else for agenda items? If not, do we have a motion to approve the June 17th regular meeting minutes?
Motion.
Under remarks, Mr. Chairman, I want to correct something. Page 13, it says Mayor Bodnar, Homestead Cemetery, discussed his concern asking for the borough to recognize the cemetery as being ours. No, I said,
What page are you on, Ray?
page 13.
He's on the minutes.
Look at your printed minutes. I said that he asked the borough in recognizing the cemetery that because someday that cemetery could be ours, not that it is ours, or being ours. So I want that correction done on page 13, and if you would like to review the tapes, please do so.
I don't think anybody's questioning that, Mayor. We'll accept that correction. I also saw one item which was on the tour, the street tour, where it said that several council people went on the street tour. It says he instead of me, referring to the manager. If we can make that correction. Would you accept that, Mr. Shields? Yes. Any other corrections or deletions to the minutes? If not, all those in favor of the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The motion carries unanimously. Reports of borough officials. Mayor.
Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, I've got a couple of things to talk about that I feel strongly about. I'll just start off by reminding everybody that there's a lot of construction work going on, Hayes, and in New Borough Avenue, et cetera, and that the traffic is very extremely heavy coming up West Run Road and also from Middleborough Avenue, going down West Run Road, and Homestead Duquesne Road coming up towards Main Street. So please recognize that the business area up there, there's been trucks going through there, heavy trucks with materials that don't belong in that area, and we respectfully ask you use those detour signs, of which our public works director told me he just put some detour signs up today. So please respect that. The second one. Now, I want to report on what happened Saturday on Main Street and in the cemetery. There are cars parked on both sides of the street quite heavily. Therefore, I requested the police come down to monitor the situation and to watch what was going on. And in the cemetery, as requested, people were going in there and working on their graves, and in the cemetery themselves cutting grass and doing what they said they were going to do. and there was no, to my knowledge, any problems down there. And I had the police, as I say, monitor the situation for a while and keep going back and forth, so there wouldn't be. And there wasn't, and everything was, as far as I'm concerned, done properly. And I'm glad to see they're respecting each other. Because again, I want to remind them, it's private property until a judge releases his findings on the bankruptcy that has not, to my knowledge, been filed as yet, but should be very shortly, very shortly. But the newspaper carried an article in one of them quoting the Homestead solicitor saying that it was filed, was not as yet. So I just want to make that correction so everybody knows that. And as a result, I guess we'll be addressing some questions after the meeting for the cemetery people that are here. Is that correct, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Okay. The last thing that I have is my favorite, 428 8th Avenue, the building that was supposed to be demolished. 3 years ago, I had people down there to demolish it because of the fire down there. It's a public safety hazard, and I sent all council this copy, and I think you can read my remarks on it. First of all, I'd like to ask council if they authorize the removal of 428.
We refer council to your handouts, page 22 through 30, on what the mayor is referring to.
Anyway, this is a priority, and you all have read what has happened. The big problem here is not only the public safety, but I don't know who authorized this. I don't know that it's in the minutes that council authorized it, and if they didn't, I'd like to ask council if any one of them knows how it got on this letter to remove it. If not, I'm not going to point fingers right now anyway, but I want to know why, and I've been asked, and I'm also the director of the COG over there, so we might as well get that out of the way. And they are, after all, the ones doing the demolition. Now, with that letter, the priority was removed, and four other parcels was put on it. I don't know who put them on there or why, but they all just about failed. And there's only two properties remaining on our current list. Is that correct, Bob, or am I wrong?
That's correct.
2 properties. So this means we have $50,000 to spend, and if we spend 15, 20,000 on the 2 properties that are there, that means there's $30,000 unexpended. People in Munhall ain't gonna like that, because that money, where that goes, is to back into the COG coffers and to be used in other communities. We want our $50,000, and I'm sure all council does too. But I'm here tonight, and I'm very serious about this. I'm asking for a motion tonight to reinstate 428 East 8th Avenue as a priority, and to spend whatever it takes, and to jump through the hoops it takes, because there is a deadline, December 31st, which has been extended from all this paperwork from last year. It's been extended to December 31st this year. That building's got to be taken down, gentlemen, and I'm asking council tonight to make that motion and remove it despite what it takes. And don't tell me money, because I'll sit down with any one of you and go over this budget if you want to. I will asking for a motion. I won't beat a dead horse as much, of course, fuel company and all that. But I expect to have this included, and if we write a letter saying we will do this, and we write it to Exler in the county, this building will get on the list and be taken down probably before December 31st. Now, I will ask Mr. Matt Vashavik if I've missed anything, right, as far as the renewal.
No, we did act on that. I researched this because you brought this issue to my attention that you wanted to address, and you brought the letter to my attention from Ann Lewis at COG. I did pull my file, the condemnation file. This Borough Council conducted a condemnation hearing on January 15th. The evidence was presented by our officials and also the engineer in support of raising the structure, finding it to be a nuisance and safety hazard. Council voted in favor to condemn and raise it, and adjudication was prepared. So all the legal steps to clear it were completed back in January, actually January of 2014.
Yes.
As I look at this now, so legal clearance was obtained.
And yet it was deleted, and 3 other properties put on. By the way, 4 properties were put on, 3 of which are historical. The other one did not qualify. So these properties are not going to be touched, and the 2 properties remaining will be done 2017, never mind, the addresses. But they will be taken, but in the interim, I don't want to see Munhall Borough lose the difference between what it takes for these properties to be demolished and our 50,100 or 50,092. Gentlemen, I asked you for that motion tonight, and I asked Mr. Cowan to get in touch with Ann Lewis to have her put this back in and reinstate this property. That's, I'll end with that.
Can I, may I add to your,
We have a lot of
excuse me,
questions.
comment there,
Yes,
Mayor?
yes, you may.
There was another house on there, the one on Margaret Street, that's been burnt for the last, what is it, 2 or 3 years? And if anything's a hazard, that's a hazard too, and it was on the demolition list. And I don't see that on here either.
So
There's
page
one on Mondare
27.
Street that's been burnt out and vacant with the roof down as well.
Well, again, this has been 3 years, and that building that we're talking about would have been torn down the night that the fire was there. Because I had the people in there to do it that very night. I had the contractors, I had people in there, and I was stopped by the council and the solicitor that night from tearing it down. It's a public safety hazard, something's gonna happen down there, it's laying there for 3 years, I want some action.
Mr. Bonadeo, on page 27, listed the structure that you mentioned, it is on the list.
Market Street structure, 1329.
27, the first item in that first matrix, 1329, that's on the list.
Okay, I was looking at this list here.
1329 Market.
I'd like Bob to address some of the other issues that you raised, Mayor. I think first and foremost would be the allocation, but I'll let you address it, Bob.
So at the time, from what I understand, 428 was suggested to be taken down because there was a potential buyer for it at that time. And at that time, council did advance 3 other structures, which unfortunately have been deemed as historical. 2 of which are in the historical district, and 1 of which, Hardin Place, is considered a historical structure. We've gone through the regular regulatory procedures to have that removed. It took a number of months to do that. To no avail, they're still considered that. So rather than fight the battle to continue that, we decided to go ahead with the demolition of what we have on the list now. On page 25, from the county, it does say that not $50,000, but $30,000 is allocated specifically for this. If you look at the correspondence from the county,
Well, that's because 20,000 of it they're probably allowing for the 2 structures you met.
okay.
So that's 20 less, you know, 50.
At any rate, I did bring it up at the last meeting, if you can recall, if you wanted to put 428 back on. Received both verbal as well as silent opposition to that. That is on page 26 in my communication to COG, that we would not proceed on that. And consequently, it probably would have not made any difference, because on page 29, the county came back and said, regardless of what you say, we're not going to allow you to put it on the list, because time is of the essence.
But look at the dates on it, what is it?
Page 29 is July 8th of this year.
And after our last meeting in June, well, I'd just like to know if we had a buyer for it, can you identify him for council? Who the buyer was and who was gonna do it?
There was someone recently that looked at it, and the communication back to us was they had no interest.
But they looked at the building.
Well, that's good, they don't look at the building, they took them a year to look at the building. Okay. That's all I'm saying, I like that motion tonight, I want this building down, it's not me, these people want it down, before somebody gets hit in the head by some kind of material.
Does that conclude your report, Mayor?
Yes, it does.
Thank you. Solicitor.
All of my items for this evening pertain to union matters, labor matters, litigation, all executive session items, so I don't have any public report this evening.
Thanks, Greg. Manager? Bob?
Thank you for the promotion. At any rate, I'll be brief. As you can see on my prepared agenda, there's a typo there. It should be 2014 audit, general fund audit has been completed. Everyone on council has a copy of that in your packets. I'm going to ask you to review that. We do have an exit interview scheduled with the auditor for council on August 2nd, I believe it is, at 7 o'clock in the evening. Prior to that, we will have a meeting with our pension advisor at 6 o'clock that evening, with P&C advisor for council.
Are you also inviting the pension?
And we're also, as I was going to state, we're also inviting both the police and the public works representatives of those funds also to sit in on that half-year meeting. That also is on August 2nd at 6 o'clock. We'll be in contract negotiations with the police union starting at the end of this month for a contract that will begin in 2016. We'll have our first meeting and hopefully have that concluded sometime by November. I will let council know that at your next meeting in August, which I believe is 17th, we'll have a formal presentation in this room from our early intervention program consultant RDN that will give us a snapshot on our financial condition, the trend analysis, as well as an emergency plan. The council needs to take a look at between then and the end of the year. We'll have a final presentation perhaps in October, but a good part of our meeting in August will be the review of the early intervention analysis. And that's all I have at this point.
Well, is that August 2nd, Sunday?
I'm sorry, 4th. Did I say 2nd? Whatever that Tuesday is, I'm sorry.
What time of day is it?
6 o'clock is the pension, and 6 and 7 o'clock is the audit. Thank you for correcting me. If you want to come Sunday, it's fine, but I should be Tuesday.
No.
Okay. Engineer, Lindsay.
Thank you. The only new item that's come up in the last month is the US Steel expansion. I've been working with our engineer to answer their questions on how to satisfy our stormwater ordinances. Eventually got to submit plans for review, also the zoning and the stormwater ordinance that we have.
What Leslie's referring to, that US Steel research is planning a 80-foot above the surface parking lot. This will probably go to our planning commission once we have all the documents together, hopefully at their next meeting. And we're looking at the stormwater management right now. Thank you.
Also presented in the capital plan is the road cost, which I've included a copy for you as well. It's based on what we identified during that road tour, the square yards, and what the total cost is. Just a ballpark figure for planning purposes. Additionally, continuing to work on the Safe Routes to School project and working with PennDOT to get things approved in anticipation of them bidding it late before the end of the year, before the end of the year, they're gonna bid it.
Lindsay, I did have a couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
On that estimate, I think I noted that it was, well, your estimate is obviously, it could be higher or lower depending on what independent contractors bid it at, how busy they are. And that's this year's number, but there's only 12 streets on here. And, you know, I noted just in my own mind that there are a lot of streets that are in pretty bad shape that aren't even on here yet. For instance, Main Street. And Main Street, as you know, is pretty long. I don't know how long exactly it is, but it's probably a mile and a half. One of the longer streets in town, and we're at 1.4 million.
I believe that,
guess it,
But the list was given to us by Public Works, and we gave it to the civil engineer to come up with the estimates.
right, but it's only 12 streets. If we were to fix all of the streets that you all live on, that are probably in not so great a shape, it would probably be closer to $4 or $5 million. And that's why we continue to try to take a look at a long-term plan, 5-year, 10-year look, so that we can schedule these as they should be, as well as the capital improvement plan, which took into consideration other facilities. My second question for you, and I don't mean to catch you off guard, because I didn't know the issue was coming up again about the 428. Did you inspect it 428, or did someone else do that?
I did.
And did you find that it, just refresh my memory, is it in imminent danger of collapse?
No, but it is a health and safety hazard.
Right. Okay.
So they're separate entities. You can condemn based on the safety hazard and the potential for it to do all that, but at the same time, it's a very stable structure. But
Yeah, we did condemn, but,
it was condemned, and it was not questioned by the county either. The other structures on 9th Avenue were immediately flagged, and they're in much worse condition.
well, I agree. If you, in the news media here, if you want to go see the historic structures that they won't allow us to tear down, you know, talk to the neighbors who are worried about their own houses being damaged or somebody getting killed when those houses fall down. So like, they're both, I think, on 9th Avenue, and it's just amazing what they won't let us tear down. It really does present a human safety hazard issue. With that, anybody else have questions for Lindsay?
Did we cost up 428 East Station Avenue, Lindsay?
No. And it hasn't been bid yet, so we don't have to bid them out. We have to make decisions basically blind.
Well, and that was the issue, and that was what was presented to council, and we had a consensus that it could be upwards of $70,000 out of our pockets in addition to the county money, and we didn't have it, and that was addressed in our finance meeting the other night as well, that when we're already over budget because we've had things like a $47,000 increase.
I was gonna go over that.
You're gonna do that
Yeah, I
at
was
some
gonna do-
point?
After we give all theirs, I'll just give a little brief
That was-
summary of our finance meeting.
And that was the reason why that, you know, we backed off of doing that right away. So with that, Public Works Supervisor, Bob.
You know, all I have is we've had a busy month with a lot of storm damage, a couple trees down, and some catch basins got blown out. That's all I have this month.
Any questions for Bob?
I have one question for Bob. One of my neighbors, or one of my dad's neighbors on Morgan's Lane, she abuts Western Road, and her property gets flooded quite a bit, and she's asked me to talk to you, and this isn't the place to do it, but it's so bad down there. I'm wondering if it's the creek that's overflowing, or if it's the sanitary sewer that's overflowing. Could you look at that down there and see, take a look and see how bad it really is down there? 'Cause she's told me that they've had the property checked and that it's sanitary, so could you look at it?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Police Chief, Pat.
You have a copy of my report, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions for the chief? If not, we'll move on to the fire chief. Ed?
Thank you, Mr. President. I apologize for not having a report prepared for you. I went on vacation, needed a vacation. I didn't have time to get it.
Vacation.
Yeah. I would like to report to council that Alex Script has been released for active duty. He's still in the process of rehabbing a little bit here and there, but he's doing very well, and he's back to fighting fires and back to work. So far this year, I can tell you that as of today, we've answered 280 fire calls, emergency responses in Munhall. That puts us close to the 500 emergency responses by the end of the year, so we're pretty busy. I'll give you June's report in January, in July rather, and I'll also have a semi-annual up to now for you guys just to see give you an idea where we're at in and so forth to this point. We've been bringing in, with the training budget that we added this year, we've been bringing in an awful lot of classes, really emphasizing training for our firefighters this year. We've brought in a couple of hazmat classes, a pump class, basic vehicle rescue class. These are all pro board sponsored classes, so we're really doing well with the training and emphasizing that with our firemen. And I can tell you that we have, as of right now, about 260 firemen on the books, on the rosters. Probably a little more than half of those are active firefighters, so we're doing okay there. With our members, we're always looking for new firemen. Anybody out there wants to join the fire department, we'll take you. But in that, we have a good junior firefighter program. We would like to have those guys stick around for a while. So,
And I'll be available again in January, so. You never know.
There's always a spot for you, Frank.
Thanks.
And we did have one minor injury in June. It was our only injury, fortunately. It was a minor heat-related injury treated released at the scene. And I do want to take a minute here to remind everybody, everybody in this room, that a month from now, 20 years ago, we had a tragedy in the Bureau of Fire. We lost the fire truck, almost lost the whole fire company, lost a firefighter, line of duty death in an accident. Number one, we'll be memorializing that July 26th at noon. I'm sure I will see all of council there. It's very important to us that everybody show up and help us memorialize Bill Marks. And a lot of those members are still suffering from that. That happened 20 years ago. They're still suffering injuries, both physically and mentally. So it's a long road to recovery, that's for sure. Those of you who were around then understand how tragic that was. So we are going to be doing something on the 26th. We'll be putting on a memorial service. So look to see you guys there. Does anybody have any questions for the fire department?
What time, July 26th?
I believe in. You should have gotten an invite, but I'll make sure you get it.
I think I did get it.
We'll be there, don't worry.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Code Enforcement Officer, Mr. Can.
Yeah, you have a copy of my report. Does anyone have any questions for me?
If not, we'll move on. Sewer Authority, I didn't see Michael Carrick in the audience. So we will.
I just want to give you a little summary of our findings. Just to let the public know, we do have a finance meeting every month. The public is invited. We like to open the books and talk to people, let people know what we're doing, where we're at, and where we hope to be. So our July 7th meeting, during this meeting, the manager and I reviewed the current financial status of the borough. Without any additional unexpected costs, the best case scenario is that Munhall Borough will end 2015 with a $29,000 deficit. The borough manager has been directed to curtail non-budgeted unnecessary costs for the remainder of 2015. Contributing to the following projects and real costs not in the 2015 approved budget are increased vehicle insurance cost of $47,000, which must be paid by October 15th. Increased workers' comp premium of $80,000 based on the most recent audits from 2012 to 14 to be paid by the end of September. Possible milling and repaving of East 10th Avenue for community days of $35,000 plus. That's a number that's, I think that's low. PA department of revenue potential liability from 2012 and 13 of $21,000. That's not yet been resolved. And $80,000 from the Social Security Administration penalty from 2011 and 2013 on unreported wages to the Social Security being appealed. So that's just a few of the things. There's a couple other things in here, but generally the bottom line comes down to is going to be very close by the end of the year. Thank you.
Thanks for that report, Rick.
Good job, Rick.
Okay, we'll move into items for consideration.
Number one, motion to enter into a contract with Cargill Incorporated for the purchase of rock salt at a low bid price via Shaycog Joint Purchasing Alliance, $69.29 per ton for the period July 16, 2015 to June 30th, 2016. I will mention that's $10 a ton cheaper than it was last contract.
Motion.
Second, do we have a second? Second by Mr. Engels.
Do we have a question?
Question on the motion?
Question.
Sure.
Thank you. Hey, we're buying it from the Shaycog.
Yes.
Does our cog offer it to us?
No, because they don't
I can
compete on that.
Go ahead.
Shaycog Purchasing Alliance encompasses most of the municipalities in Allegheny County. And most of the cogs buy into it, so we go in larger volume and we get a better cost.
Thank you.
So the municipalities that are members of the Steel Valley Cog also participate in the Shaycog Joint Purchasing Alliance.
Thank you.
Steel Valley Cog purchases off the Shaycog, which does the whole shebang for all the communities around. Furthermore, it's just like we buy our police cars, to the whole gang at once.
Thank you, Rick.
Question. How many tons are we required to buy through
We're not
Shaycog
required,
through this contract?
we're not required to buy any certain number other than what we estimate. We estimate 2,000 tons a year. We are required to purchase at a minimum 60% and a maximum 140% above that. If we go above the maximum, we do pay a penalty, depending upon the weather.
Like last year, we had to pay a penalty. This year?
We paid a lot, I don't know if we
Yeah.
paid a penalty.
Okay, any other questions on the motion? If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously.
Motion to execute an agreement with PennDOT for winter traffic services for 8th Avenue from the ramp from Rankin Bridge to Library Place, Commonwealth Avenue from Ryrie Lane to 300 feet past Munhall West Midland Line, Whitaker Way from Schwab Avenue to 8th Avenue, in the total amount of $6,225.67 per year for the period October 15, 2015 through April 30th, 2020.
Questions on, do we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Shields, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Engels. Questions on the motion? Well, the state does part of the maintenance on certain roads, and we do some exchange with them in return.
They pay us to
Paying us.
maintain their roads
Right.
for a certain
For the
cost per
state.
year.
Right.
Any other questions on the motion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Motion carries
Number three,
unanimously.
motion to adopt resolution 2015-5, authorizing Joseph Hoffman to acquire lot and block parcel 180-C-114 on Violet Avenue to the Allegheny County Vacant Property Recovery Program, and certifying that this acquisition is in accordance with the comprehensive plan of Munhall Borough.
Happy Violet Alley.
VI, Alley, I'm sorry, West Avenue, Alley.
Do we have a motion? Motion. Motion by Mr. Votadine. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Brennan. Questions on the motion?
Where's that at? Do we know where it's at?
No idea.
No idea. Somebody gotta know so we
Anybody out there know where it's at?
Violet Alley.
Nick?
Is that up in the garden? That's what I thought.
No, that's Pansy, no, it's not.
That's gotta be a paper alley, there's no.
Joseph Hoffman. Who's he?
He's an applicant to the county program, the side yard program, and the council recognizes that he meets meets all the qualifications for it. Taxes are paid, so we just have to certify that it's okay for him to do that.
I just wondered where it's at. I
I'm
never
just
heard
trying to figure, I'm just going by what, has Violet Alley.
Or don't address you when you need it.
Yeah.
You know.
He lives in Marion, so it might be, Jason.
It is in between East Schwab and East Marigold.
Here we go.
Yeah, it's a paper out there.
Thank you.
And he's taken care of the property and cut it for 50 years. He's just getting around to asking
Perfect.
for ownership now.
It's an actual property.
So, with that, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously.
Number 4, motion to adopt resolution 2015-6, authorizing the borough manager to apply for $25,000 from the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development for the development of a multi-municipal comprehensive development plan on behalf of Munhall, Homestead, and West Homestead, and to commit up to $8,250 in 2016 general funds toward its required match.
Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Ballas, second by Mr. Foss. Bob, you wanted to talk about this motion?
According to the Pennsylvania Municipal Planning Code, every municipality and jurisdiction in the Commonwealth must update its comprehensive development plans every 10 years. Ours is last updated a long time ago, I think. It's been longer than 10 years. So monies are available, and of course that includes the demographics update, it includes the housing, the condition, it includes infrastructure, community systems, as well as identifying funding streams and estimating costs for improvements over the next 10 years. Again, that's in relation to the plan. This is merely an application on behalf of 3 municipalities. We already have another application submitted to the Local Government Academy that was done back in November. We're also planning on going after Allegheny Places to Allegheny County for additional dollars, because the estimated cost roughly would be about maybe anywhere from $100,000 to $120,000 to look at the entire community systems of all 3 municipalities. Again, this is a funding application. That doesn't mean it may or may not be approved, but if we don't ask and don't apply, we certainly won't know that.
And you've met a couple of times with Ian and Kyle from Homestead and West Homestead over a period of, what, like a year now?
About a year. Again, we're working in partnership too for a comprehensive recreation plan as well, which will be incorporated into this. This is an entire community, it's not just portions of it.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on the motion? If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries
Number
unanimously.
5, motion to arrange with Duquesne Light Company to install 10+ LED streetlights on East 11th Avenue between McClure and Margaret at a cost of $109 per LED streetlight.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Ballas. Second by Mr. Vonadine. Very similar to the program that we've already tested and tried to cut our long-term.
It's an ongoing program for.
Long-term, it's very good for us. Any questions on the motion?
Well, how long does it take for this to pay itself back? Is that 18 months?
18 months to 2 years per
It's like
light.
somewhere in that neighborhood. So after
Duquesne
that-
Light allows $1,500 per year among the municipalities in Allegheny and Beaver counties. So it's first come, first served.
Mhm.
Last year, we were lucky, we got 30 lights. It's more competitive this year, so we're going after 10.
Well, I think other communities are seeing what's happening, that it is working, so everyone's jumping in. I think some of the communities were a little bit afraid at first to, jump in. 'Cause that was, well, we were both at that meeting last year.
Okay, if no other questions on the motion, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The motion carries unanimously.
Number 6, motion to enter into a contract with Z-Tech Incorporated for the repair and corrective measures of all the Main Street surveillance video cameras at a cost not to exceed $6,660, and in accordance with the proposal submitted on May 12, 2015. And that was sent to everybody in front.
Mhm.
Motion
Question.
Second by Mr.
Sorry.
Ballas.
Question.
Question, Mr. Brown.
Is this a budgeted expenditure?
We do, yes.
Thank you.
Marty?
Lights are not working at all, the camera's not working at all. That's been throughout all.
Over a year.
Don't forget to put them in, they're not around anymore, or they're.
No, the Houston.
Yeah, right.
That's the one that put it in, right? Yes.
Any other questions on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The motion carries unanimously.
Number 7, motion to appoint Joseph Ballas at the recommendation of the council interviewing committee to the Munhall Borough Parks and Recreation Board, effective immediately.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Fox. Second by Mr. Bodine. Questions or comments on the motion?
Just a comment, I am going to recuse myself from all of these because I was a candidate for this board and I, went through the interviewing process. And I didn't, actually interview the other people, so I don't know, what they do.
Okay. Other questions, comments? If not, I guess we'll have a roll call vote.
Councilman Shields.
No.
Councilman Bodine.
Yes.
Councilman Brennan.
No.
Councilman Foss.
Yes.
Councilman Ingalls.
No.
President Lloyd.
No. Okay.
6-2, no.
6-2, the motion.
4-2.
4-2, the motion doesn't carry. Motion number 8.
Okay, motion to appoint Holly Bobchick, I'm sorry, at the recommendation of the council interviewing committee to the Munhall Borough Parks and Recreation Board, effective immediately.
Motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a first by Mr. Foss, a second by Mr. Shields. Any comments or questions on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye. Roll call.
Okay, roll call. You want a roll call?
Yes.
Go ahead, let's see.
Councilman Shields.
Yes.
Councilman Bodine.
Yes.
Councilman Brennan.
Yes.
Councilman Foss.
Yes.
Councilman Ingalls.
Yes.
President Lloyd.
Yes. Before we move on to the next motion, I just want to explain, what happened here, and Mr. Ballas was a gentleman by recusing himself. He was reminded that, and I don't know that they were really aware of this at the meeting when they did the interviews, but when we first, Bob brought the idea of having an independent recreation board for Munhall Borough that would make recommendations to the council. Along with that recommendation was that there be no sitting members of council on that board. And somewhere along the line, it got lost. And when reminded of it, Joe, as the gentleman that he is, recused himself. If he's not on council next year, which he may or may not be, he can certainly be a member of that board, and that vote has no reflection on Joe and the job that he does. So I think you were a gentleman to recuse yourself. So moving on, motion is number 9.
Number 9, motion to appoint Anthony D. Martino at the recommendation of the council interviewing committee to the Munhall Borough Parks and Recreation Board, effective immediately.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Ingalls, second by Mr. Brennan. Roll call vote.
Councilman Shields.
Yes.
Councilman Bodine.
Yes.
Councilman Brennan.
Yes.
Councilman Foss.
Yes.
Councilman Ingalls.
Yes.
President Lloyd.
Yes. Motion carries unanimously.
Number 10, motion to appoint Kara Karstetler at the recommendation of the council interviewing committee of the Munhall Borough Parks and Recreation Board, effective immediately.
Motion. Second.
Motion by Mr. Shields, second by Mr. Foss. Any comments or questions? Can we forego the roll call?
No.
No.
We started.
Roll call vote. Go ahead, Ms.
Councilman Shields.
Yes.
Councilman Bonnadine.
Yes.
Councilman Brennan.
Yes.
Councilman Falls.
Yes.
Councilman Ingalls.
Yes.
President Lloyd.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would
Motion
like
carries
to-
unanimously.
I would like to bring a comment to, bring up another motion, actually. We have a hole in the board right now, we've got 10 members.
Absolutely.
I would like to nominate Chris Fassinger
I agree.
for the position on the board, so we would go up to 11.
Motion you on second?
Second by Mr. Shields. Any comments or questions? Was she interviewed?
He wasn't. He's very good.
Okay, he's very good.
I'm sorry, what was the name?
Christopher Fassinger, Fassinger. A total of 9 or 10 people were interviewed, of which 4 were to be appointed.
Okay, questions or comments? If not, roll call.
Councilman Shields.
Yes.
Councilman Bonnadine.
Yes.
Councilman Brennan.
Yes.
Councilman Falls.
Yes.
Councilman Ingalls.
Yes.
President Lloyd.
Yes. Motion carries unanimously.
Number 11, bear with me, folks. Motion to pay bills for the period June 16, 2015 to July 15, 2015, summarized as follows. Administration, $24,217.82. Police, $63,607.83. Fire, $9,355.81. Health and sanitation, $22,369.51. Public works, $30,841.06. Recreation, $733.86. Debt service, $800,000.00. Miscellaneous, $54,444.71, for a grand total of $1,006,070.60.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Ingalls, second by Mr. Falls. Question?
Is there no interest on the debt service?
We pay interest monthly, we've been paying, this is the
So
principal
that's
amount.
just, this is the principal.
Good question, John.
I didn't see it, I was wondering.
You will show up in the payment of the bills monthly, you'll see that.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The motion carries unanimously.
Number 12, motion to approve payroll for the period June 18, 2015 to July 2nd, 2015 as follows. June 18, 2015, $113,772.82. July 2nd, 2015, $108,988.12, for a total of $222,760.94.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Falk, second by Mr. Bowers. Comments, questions? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, we have,
I'd like to bring up another motion. A motion to reinstate 428 East 8th Avenue to be demolished, requesting Sue Lake Cog to commit to pay the costs. I mean, Clayton gets a lot of things, a lot more done than we do, we're a lot bigger. Let's give it a shot.
so the motion is,
Motion to
if
reinstate.
Steel Valley Cog pays the cost,
If, you know,
not Munhall Borough.
yes.
Okay, you have a second by Mr. Ingalls.
No, wait, wait.
All those, questions and comments on the motion?
Remarks, that's for Munhall Borough. You excluded it in your program. Therefore, the money that you have committed to, the 20,000 to commit to 2 homes, at least 30 left. Munhall Borough is responsible for the rest of it.
Well, I think
By
you're saying it was
you dig into your
He's
pockets.
saying it's 50.
According to the letter, it said 30, but the mayor's saying there's an additional 20, it's not identified, but I'll take him at his word. But the estimated cost to demolish is between 70 and 80,000, which means the council would have to come up with all this. That's the letter that was prepared.
We're not sure of that cost though, are we? You know, once we put it back on the list, that's when we get it costed out, right? That's when
Let
we,
me, I need,
yeah.
I mean, this will be going on to 16 at the earliest anyways, right? What will be going on?
It hasn't been already.
Then it'll be some.
No, you have to do it right now, like tomorrow.
No, it's not gonna happen tomorrow, Mayor.
We have to bid it out. We have to bid it
No,
out.
I'm not talking about bidding it out, I'm saying let your intentions know in writing to the call what you're doing, and you should put it on.
According to the last letter from the county, they're not going to allow an amendment to the contract to include 428.
Well,
Which means we'll bear the total cost.
according to who I've just talked to today, and that's after you talked to them, Bob, they are going to allow, open the program until December 31st again, as long as we jump through the hoops and file the paperwork and agree to spend the money. Talk to Ann Lewis about it tomorrow.
We have a letter from Ann Lewis saying that that's not the case.
You also, that as of today, that's not the case. It will be open till December 31st.
The mayor talked to Ann Lewis today. I don't know when that letter was sent out.
This letter is dated June 29th.
That's right.
It's like
So
2
you don't
weeks
have-
old, already 3 weeks old.
You don't have anything in writing from
29.
her. She couldn't send you a fax and say, yeah, we're
You
good
just
for the
got
month.
hung up before
July
we
8th.
got up here. Let's put it that way. And she's requesting that you put it in writing and move ahead. That's what I'm requesting, and you have a motion.
Well, we have a motion on the floor. Any other questions or comments on the motion?
If we approve it, are we locked into that agreement, or can we still pull our?
No, what it says is that we're on the hook for whatever funds, whatever's left. So if it costs us 80,000 and there's 20,000 there, then we have to pay 60,000.
If we make application and put it on the list now, does that mean that we're committed to keeping it on the list? Can we pull it next month?
You, Rick, already pulled it, and you have no reason to pull it because his council never approved pulling it. Now therefore, you submitted 4 other ones that failed. You have $50,000. The 2 that you have on there now, they're gonna cost you around 20. That leaves you 30. The rest of it, you're responsible for. This should have been done again. How many times do I have to say 3 years ago? You're leaving a public safety problem hanging right over your head when you get nailed.
We're not the owners of the property,
Well, who is, Rick?
the owner of the property.
Yeah, who is? Costick, and we were supposed to fine him $1,000 a day from 3 years ago. Boomer, $1,000 a day from 3 years ago. How much did we collect? And everybody was worried about,
And who let us down on that?
Judge Gallo, he didn't say value. Did he say, he didn't say
He
value?
reduced it.
The first time we went down, we collected $300. The second time, we gave him $1,000.
Oh, Judge Gallo.
Yeah.
Oh,
We were
yeah.
asking
Total.
total, and we were asking $14,000. The 2 times. The first time I took him down, we wrote him up for 5 things, and we got $300. The second time I wrote him for 9 things, and we got $1,000. And I'm not even sure if he paid the $1,300.
So the system could work if they would light the fire under this guy. He would want us to tear the building down. But the system doesn't work.
obviously, we got him, whatever we got in that building, he's still stood there.
So basically, what are we gonna have to pay to do?
Well, it might cost us around 50 grand over budget.
We're looking at a $29,000 deficit.
So far.
It might cost you, I don't know, 20, 30, it might, I don't know, with a building like that, we're taking a pretty good a bid, from them, they're gonna have to bid now. But we want in there because they extended it for us to December 31st, as far as getting it done. But you have to have all your paperwork done. They're not gonna be happy down there, but we can do it.
We have to have a limit on how much we have to spend to tear the building. What if the bid comes in to tear the building down at $110,000?
Well, and what if it comes in at 50,000?
What if we get a quote first, you know, so we know what we're talking
That's what
about?
I
you know,
said.
We can't afford it, this is
Why
what
don't
we
we
want.
just know what we're talking about here? There's no use, what if? Let's
Make
get a
your
quote.
commitments.
Yeah,
We
go
make a
from there.
commitment now, this can be pulled
You're
next
making
month.
you're asking us to make a blind commitment.
That's not a blind commitment, that's a commitment to you, the collective, man. And you probably know most about it than anybody.
Maybe I
Yes,
do.
you do, yes, you do. We won't get in a lot.
I'm gonna speak on that regarding.
No, you're not.
You had to bid $28,000 on that building 3 years ago. You did. I was at this
You're not on
meeting.
the agenda to
Well,
speak
for having
on this
thrown me
item.
out, I'm on the agenda.
You are not on that issue, and we don't have.
You had to bid 3 years ago, $28,000 to tear that building down.
Michael.
3 years ago, at
I was here.
$28,000.
I was here.
Now, you think next year it's gonna cost you any less?
No, I don't think so.
Well, tear it down while you can, gentlemen, it's your responsibility.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. We'll take a roll call vote.
What's the motion?
The motion was,
The motion, as I read, was motion to reinstate 428 East 8th Avenue to be demolished, requesting Still Valley Cog commit to pay the costs.
I have no problem with that.
roll call vote.
Could we should get an estimate. We need an estimate. We need a quote.
The college ain't gonna pay the full cost.
I know. We need
No,
a
they
quote.
want a commitment.
No,
You
he's saying
will
his
pay
motion
the
says
cost.
the difference.
The difference.
His motion says the COG will be responsible for the difference. What COG recommended to us is that we blindly pay the difference. He changed it.
That has to be in writing, Dan, that you will responsibly take it before you accept it.
That's not what his motion is.
Yes, it is.
No, it is.
Motion.
Would you repeat your motion, Mr. Falls?
Don't include.
No, it does, concern for finances. I mean, motion to reinstate 428 East 8th Avenue to be demolished, requesting Still Valley Cog commit to pay the cost. But I do want to get a price, and if it's not that bad, we still demolish it. If we just go a little bit over. I agree. And this can be pulled next month if there's a deficit.
The bids won't be going on 8 other communities. They're gonna do them at once.
Can we not get our own quote? We can get a quote. I mean, instead of talking what ifs.
Hold on. But that's a good point, Joe.
Just let me comment.
There's 8 communities in on this.
Mayor, would
You
you
are
let
gonna
him
lose
speak? Why don't ask the floor?
$30,000.
Why ask the floor? Would you wait a minute?
Go ahead.
Please.
Go ahead.
According to the last information that I received from Allegheny County through the COG, irrespective of what the mayor has, is that no matter what we do, 428 East 8th Avenue will not be on the bid to incur any community development block $1 million.
And that is in.
If, according to the correspondence, irrespective of what you said, Mayor, on July 8th, if the Munhall Borough wants to go out on bids separately, just for that, with its own money, certainly you have the right to do that. Just wanted to caution you that regardless of how you vote, you may not end up the way you want.
Munhall Borough would be responsible for the difference of what you spent out of your 50 grand, 30,000, and the difference in the cost.
That's not his motion.
Well, that's the motion we requested.
Well, that's not the motion that he made. I
You
want to vote on
rescind
this
that?
motion.
Well, I can rescind it.
I mean, we have to put a limitation on the cost, or we would be over, you know. We have to be responsible. The motion to reinstate 428 East 8th Avenue, demolished, requesting Still Valley Cog to commit to pay the cost. You know, and we will get a quote, like Joe said, I think it's best to go out and get a quote to see where we're at with this.
Okay, what Bob's saying is, they sent us a letter saying no matter what, they're not gonna pay. Correct.
He
Did
says
they
that's
give you a
wrong.
reason why that is? Because we withdrew it, or, I mean, is there a legal matter in there?
According to it, they're not allowing any other amendments to the contract from the county to the COG. Not enough time, it's done, we've already done it for other municipalities.
That's the reason.
They did allow 210 East 8th Avenue, but they're not allowing 428. According to the letter of the 29th, page 29 of July 8th last week.
It was on the list. I don't understand that. It was on the list.
Well, that's right.
It was
How
on
did it
last
get taken
month.
off the
Well,
list?
it came off the list because
Who took it
Bob,
off? Did this council take
Bob
it off?
asked us for a consensus of whether or not, we were all sitting here, whether or not we thought we had the funds to go ahead and blindly tear it down. There wasn't consensus, and he took it off the list.
Dan, I wanna see the motion by this council that says take it off the list. That's what I want. Either you or somebody here has told somebody to take it, remove it off the list.
That's right. It was on in
And you
June.
put 4 other properties on, 3 of which got rejected. Now you got 2 ready to go, you got $30,000 to apply to a property that's gotta be torn down. And I'm giving you the latest information. They want a commitment by this borough financially to pay for whatever it costs. They will pay the difference of whatever they have left out of the 2 properties that you already condemned. They'll pay, say 30, I'm just guessing. You will pay whatever the difference is with it.
Whatever the property's added on, that's right.
Huh?
That was hard to place ever get back under again, and that would just
Right.
cost you so
Yeah.
much.
Oh, why, can we take them off?
At this point, they have processed everything to the point where they're ready to move ahead. And they're ready to bend over backwards in Munhall Borough to see that Munhall Borough gets this property taken care of immediately.
Do you
Sign a commitment letter with me.
Do you want to go ahead on a vote for your motion, Rob, or do you want to amend the motion to bind the borough to an undetermined cost?
No, I'm gonna vote on my motion.
Okay. Well, we're going to vote on the motion. We've discussed it enough. Roll call vote.
Should we restate that?
Councilman Ballas?
Yes.
Councilman Shields?
Yes.
Councilman Votadian?
Yes.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilman Foss?
Yes.
Councilman Ingalls?
Yes.
President Lloyd?
Yes. Motion carries unanimously.
You just lost it, that's all I'm telling you. And it'll be here next year for you with a higher cost.
Okay. Public comments on non-agenda items. First, we have Anthony Dorsey. If you're here, come to the podium, please. State your name and address.
Anthony Corso, 3910 Davis Avenue. Okay, and I just wanted to speak to council about Borough Ordinance 1506, which is an ordinance on apartment dwellings. And we had a very bad incident in our neighborhood recently where a renter came in and just was just terrible, doing all kinds of illegal things. Thank you to the police chief and Munhall Police who took care of the incident, and after some investigating, got them out of there. But what we ran into was when we were going to the landlord, we weren't getting any response from the landlord. So the ordinance, if you're not familiar with it, says that, I mean, it's a very well-written ordinance, and it says, you know, the landlord has to live within 15 miles of Munhall. If not, they have to have a manager within 15 miles of Munhall. That if, you know, the police are called to the residence, or if they are a nuisance residence, that there's paperwork to be filled out, and then either the code enforcement officer or the police can present that to the landlord, and he's responsible ultimately for making sure that he keeps his tenants, you know, in line. And you know, we're not willing to allow our community, our neighborhood, to be drug down. And I want a commitment from council, if you're not familiar with this ordinance, to revisit it. It's not about us, it's not about just Davis Avenue. It's, you know, if we allow this to happen in our community, then, I mean, it was bad. It was bad. We took a really quiet street and just swerved. And again, I can't commend, you know, the police chief and his men enough as to how they handled the situation, but we were desperate because we weren't getting any help from the landlord. Now, he has rectified the situation now. He brought the new tenant over to meet us all, and, you know, but I want to make sure that this doesn't happen throughout. Do we even know, has everyone applied for a license, or when they rent? You know, and is it renewed yearly like it's supposed to be? Is it, you know, are we doing the inspections? Are we filling out the paperwork when the police are called there? Or are we holding these landlords accountable? You know, that's what I wanna make sure is happening.
Mr. Corsi, I'll address that. You know,
Yes.
This ordinance, was a hot issue back in 2007. It was passed and put on the books, early in 2007. By, I think, March or April of 2008, it was taken off the books to be reevaluated by the solicitor. Greg actually wrote that ordinance. It was adopted in numerous communities throughout Allegheny County. We take it seriously. One of the issues with it is that it's not instant satisfaction.
Right.
And it's a process that it could take a couple of, a month before, you know, depending on the behavior, depending on when people are cited, it works through the system, code enforcement officer sends referral to the police department, it goes back to the landlord, he gets an opportunity to get out bad tenants. We've actually taken tenants and made them move to help the landlord. So we take the ordinance seriously. One of the difficult parts of that is that, you know, one of the terms you used was to keep people in line. And it's very difficult for a landlord who rents property to keep people in line because you don't really, you're not appointed, you don't wear a badge. So there's limitations to what you can do as a landlord too. Although, you know, they should be screening the tenants. I know we're enforcing the ordinance. We're diligent about collecting and making sure that we know who's there. You know, it was an unfortunate incident up on Davis, but I think we're on.
Were you even aware of that incident?
I was not.
So that's my point. If he's not aware of it and the paperwork hasn't started,
Mr. Corson, I confess that.
continue to.
He was not made aware of that because we had an ongoing investigation.
Okay.
He's not a sworn law enforcement, he's
Okay.
not a police officer. We
Okay.
can't make him privy to information like that.
Okay.
You know, when I spoke to Ian, I let you know that we had something in the works. I didn't, you know.
We just wanna make sure it's not happening
Right,
again.
no.
Yeah.
Here's how it happens. If we get a call to a rental
Right.
property, every officer fills out a card that's about this big. It's called a rental property card. Once we tally 3 of those, we send them over to Mr. Cannon. Mr. Cannon sends a letter to the landlord, makes the landlord aware that, hey, your tenant is unruly, not a good tenant, whatever the case may be, criminal behavior. He tells that landlord, you know, you're being notified right now that if you either have this much time to correct the problem, or you would be the one going in front of the magistrate for not complying with our ordinance. Dave, how many people have we removed? A couple, 2, 3 dozen over the last few years? Yeah. So the ordinance works. What I will say, what help we need, you know, I know Dave does the inspections, we do, you know, we go show up for the calls. But a lot of times, and not so much in your neighborhood, in different neighborhoods, people move out in the middle of the night. And we don't, you know, if we don't see them, if no one reports it, we have a whole new tenant in there without an inspection being done that we don't know about. You know, there's no way for Dave to track that. So we do need the people in the community. If you see someone moving in, moving out, middle of the night, let us know. Make a phone call. That helps us quite a bit, keeping track of who's in what house.
Okay, great.
I have something to add to this conversation as well. You know, once you go through that process and you send him in 3 letters, the tenant still has the right to appeal, and then you have to go downtown. And that drags you out another 2 months or 3 months.
I understand that, but
It's not over once
I
you
understand.
guys do that.
And Rick, that's a good point. There was one time where they told the tenant they could stay.
Yeah.
And the landlord goes, what do I do? I said, you don't have to do anything. You did your due diligence to get rid of them. You had that pill here.
That happened to me.
We had one, that Dave and I both dealt with daily for months. I mean, we had multiple calls a day there. The landlord was notified. The landlord did what they were supposed to do. They took the person to the magistrate. They appealed it down to Judge Gallo, and they're supposed to move out, I believe, by by the end of the month,
Yeah.
and it's been 4 or 5, 6 months. And I'm sure in that 4 or 5, 6 months.
I understand that, I just wanna make sure that the process.
And one other thing I wanna add too, when that happened up in your neighborhood, I got a call from one of your other neighbors. And I did talk to Dave Cannon about what's going on. How many calls have you been going through, Dave, or what's going on? So there is people that are concerned about what's going on. We are checking to see what Dave's doing, what Pat's doing. But I did talk to Dave, he said, I don't remember the number, but he said, but I have 20 calls and 20 other complaints in, so he is doing his job. It's not like he's not sitting on his laurels. He's
I'm not
working
saying
at
that he is,
that.
I'm here to
We use that ordinance quite well. We
that's
work
what's
well
going
with
on.
it.
Because,
you know,
the area's getting in shape here.
It's
I mean,
important to us.
If you drive up through the park area, there's people you don't even know anymore,
I know.
and they're not pleasant. They're not.
we just wanna make sure that, you know, that we're keeping our neighborhoods
It
safe.
just takes longer than most people think it does.
That's fine, as long as the process is.
They think that, that nothing's being done, but something, it just takes a while with that.
And the last thing I'd like to say is we are having a crime watch meeting on, July 22nd in one of our neighbor's house. Anyone who's interested in attending?
We plan on being very active.
I think that's great. I brought it up with the police department before. I think we need more localized crime watches on each street to let your neighbors know who your neighbors are, and phone call chains, phone number chains. I think that is a big priority. I
We
commend
plan on
you
being
for that.
very, we hope to be the role model. We're gonna make that a very good program.
Good.
I spoke to Officer Bromley,
He's gonna be there.
and I
We're
know
ready
he's
to
been
go with
instructional.
this. And it's not just that
I
case.
told him I thought he was gonna be a model
You
to
know,
do this.
we will. We'll make it a good program and we want people to
He
follow.
knows that as well.
And also, thank you to the borough manager. He contacted me and wanted, to discuss this with me before it came to council. And, I didn't because I wanted to make sure that I just brought it out and found out that we even know, that this is.
No, thanks for coming, Anthony, and I hope you found that, the government is working somewhat correctly. We're on it, and it's not perfect, but we're trying. So
All right.
thanks for coming and
Thank
bringing
you.
that issue to us. Okay, next we have Mary Manella, 539 East Ninth Avenue. Mary.
531.
531.
The reason I'm here tonight, I happen to have the misfortune of living next door to the historical building on East Ninth Avenue, 537, 539. Now, I lived in my house in '78. When I moved in, that was a nice apartment building. Then over the years, it began to go down. So we have a problem with a roof that's ready to come down. When we get a good rain, the mold and mildew is so bad. I worked in the medical field. I could not sit out because of the smell, so I called the health department. The health department requested that I call Channel 2, Channel 4, and Channel 11 and report this and have them come out. I didn't do that because I was told that that building was put on the list to be demolished. So I let it go. Then I find out that the Historical Society decided it can't be put down. Now that's leaning toward my house. Here's my question. When that falls on my house, who do I sue if I live? What do I do?
That's a question for.
What do I do?
Well, who do you sue? Is it a question for the
If I
private
live.
attorney you'd have to consult? If I were you, I'd immediately want to contact the person from the state, according to the letter from Ann Lewis at the COG that denied them clearance to demolish that, and I want to make your case to them. Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, I don't know the contact person, only because I'm looking at her letter.
These people that decide these things don't live in the area. They don't live next door
I
to
agree with you
this.
100%. From everything I've heard, I support what you're saying, but the state is a larger government entity and is higher authority than we
Can I
are.
get some names of people that I call? Maybe we should get the TV
You know
people
what,
out
you
there.
can call.
Please come.
You can call Bob. Bob argued with the state.
I've talked and he's a gentleman. He's
I
very
told you
nice.
it'll come back to us
Yeah,
anyway.
yes, thank you very much. You were really kind.
Yeah, that's very upsetting to me. I live in your neighborhood. That building is ridiculous.
I mean,
That
I
anybody with a brain could say that it's a historic
Let me
structure.
tell you something. 2 years ago, I had a handicapped brother who was in a wheelchair. coming down the side of my house. He started up the ramp and the window from the third floor fell down. I still have the glass. Not a month later, another one comes down. I called the police, they were wonderful. They came down, they filled out the reports, whatever. But like I said, I'm waiting for that thing to hit my house.
Yeah, and we want to tear it down, but our hands are tied by.
Well, then maybe the TV people could come down and get on
They
the
should,
camera.
they
Yeah.
should, they should.
Thank
That's
you.
a big issue.
This is a very large two-story,
Three-story.
three-story, brick with a flat roof.
Exactly.
I see Mary on Sundays, and she asked me in the winter, can you tell me what will happen if it collapses? I said, I really couldn't tell you.
If at my second floor and I go back, I can count the holes like this. There's about 12 of them in the roof. Then behind is a garage.
When you go in front, you can smell the building.
Tell me about it, that's why I don't
Smell
sit
the
outside.
building. It's awful.
You can
It's
see where the
terrible.
bricks are actually cracked. You can see
Exactly.
it.
The garage is so bad, when they were doing construction in that storage place in the back, they used that for their dump site.
Right.
There's everything in there that you can imagine. The only thing we don't have are rats. It's unreal. Yeah, please, bring the TV people down.
Peggy Backer. Rental ordinance enforcement. Welcome back.
Yeah, it has been a while, and it's changed, so I'll be as kind as I can. I'm glad you think ordinance 1506 works. I'm glad there's rental cars being submitted because, and the only people that are willing to get on Margaret Street are the police, and I thank them for that. I had called the police the other day. I was trying to sit with my mother to have dinner, and I couldn't even hear my TV. Next thing I know, people were out there screaming and yelling. I called the police. Once you finally get through 911 and tell them what's going on, and finally just simply say, would you please send a police officer down? The officers get down there, and they just go, again? You can see the expression on their face. They're going to the same house, again, and again, and again. The police officer says to me, Peggy, did you see anything? I said, well, yeah. And he said, a third opinion? Oh, I'll get one. Thankfully, nobody's doing anything on Margaret Street. There are the alley behind Margaret Street. The weeds are so deep that they're crawling into the middle of the alley. The trees are down. Some people aren't going to like to hear this, but Monday morning I observed our borough recycling truck hit a car trying to get through the alley because the car was pulled out too far because of the weeds and broke the meter on the car and just kept on going. The weeds in the neighbor's yard from my mom's house are taller than I am. And last month when...
Excuse me, when did this happen?
Which?
The recycling truck?
Monday, this past Monday.
Can you check that out for us?
Let's take care about this.
You know about that? I'm sorry.
And a month ago, maybe a month ago, when I went down, my brother recently passed away, we go down and address my mother's dogs every morning. My husband calls me and says, you need to come down here. Long story short, somebody had fun in the neighborhood, as the words were placed, and threw a gun into my mother's yard because apparently it wouldn't go off. It misfired or jammed. So, you guys think you have problems? Margaret Street needs to be addressed, gentlemen, please. Please. Between the noise levels, the weeds, and everything else on that street, I'm actually told people are afraid to go down the street. I know that for a fact because you can't get a pizza delivered to that street. Please address it. I know there's time frames and which, you can only do so much in each area. Please address Margaret Street. Thank you.
Thank you. Cody McGee. Cody, are you with us? If not, we'll move on to, looks like Sandra Wolf. Sandra, are you with us?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'd like to present.
Address, name and address?
My name is Sandra
Wolf, and I live at 126 East 21st Avenue in Munhall. I'm going to go through these quickly so that I can present everything. Concern, Ms. Rita Hudspeth purchased a plot in January for the Homestead Cemetery. She paid it off in April. As of this date, she has never received the deed for the plot. On July 4th, Mr. Bob Callen, Munhall Borough Manager, was quoted in the Post-Gazette as saying, families can still visit loved ones in the cemetery, but because it is no longer operational, they are responsible for maintenance and upkeep of the graves. 4 days later, on Wednesday, July the 8th, families discovered the entrances were padlocked and chained, displaying no trespassing signs. Mr. Michael Serrano from Williams Funeral Home stated in the Post-Gazette on the same day, funeral homes do not have access to cemetery files and could mistakenly open the wrong grave. Thank you, Mayor Bodnar, for addressing Mr. Schneider's wrongful comment about the filing of bankruptcy. Also at that meeting, Jennifer Wilkers made a comment that she does not understand why Munhall Council feels the need to comment on anything that has to do with the cemetery, since they do not feel it is their problem. She also added that Munhall residents and officials knew for the past several years about the financial problems. Status of bankruptcy, has it been filed, not filed, if not, when? We have a petition going on. As of 7:30 this evening, we have 644 signatures on that petition for people who want to show support in the issue with the cemetery. It was created July 8th, 8 days ago. Community support, I wanted to let you know that there have been 1,572 supporters who have become members of 2 Facebook pages who were formed in support of saving the Homestead Cemetery. During our last cleanup day on July 11th, we had 90 volunteers show up to cut, clip, weed, sweep, and bag, and Mr. Brennan, thank you for being one of those. We had numerous people stop by the cemetery to drop off beverages, snacks. We had a local business donate some food. We've had local people who have relocated out of state, and they have sent comments, text, posts, saying how grateful they are. In regards to Ms. Wilker's comment that we have known about this for several years, if this was the case of residents and officials knowing of the situation, how was it conveyed to the community? Why did the local funeral directors seem unaware? Why are so many families coming forth to have no knowledge of this? Why wasn't information distributed at the last Memorial Day service? Those same graves of fallen soldiers, police officers, and firemen were so well groomed for Memorial Day, but when we went up there this past Saturday, the weeds were 2 feet high on those same graves. Thank you.
Okay, this is nothing for council. It might be some information for you that I want to get from this group. Now, if you get boisterous, forget it. I don't want to know anything. My reason for being here, I'm very concerned about the cemetery, especially I'm in charge, not only I, some of these boys, for Memorial Day. Yes, they're boys, they're a lot younger than I. And what I want to know, first of all, who oversees the board for the cemetery? Who oversees it? Can anybody answer me?
Catherine Morrow.
Who is she?
She's the board president.
And who oversees her?
It's a private.
Well, ma'am, if I could say something, they were here last month at the meeting, and I guess he's the president up there, Dan Lloyd. He had invited them to the meeting, but my understanding is that they weren't allowed to come after you invited them at that last meeting. So they would have been here again, but they wasn't
Well, I
invited.
don't want to argue anything.
I'm not arguing, I'm just making a statement.
Who oversees the board?
We
Ms.
don't know.
Catherine Morrow? You don't know.
She's the president, we don't know who
Who
oversees her.
appointed the board?
We don't know.
Well, then how, if you don't know anything?
Well, ma'am,
can
that's
you
part
have
of
a
the,
board
that's part of the problem, ma'am, is we are trying to get answers to our questions.
Yes.
And everybody goes like this, it's not our problem. We don't know. It has to go to bankruptcy before anything can be done. Those very questions that you're asking, we ask. Are you getting any answers? I don't see.
Mayor?
See, our concern
The mayor's
is,
on the board.
we paid for them plots, why is
Yes.
there gates around the, we
I'm
paid
not
for
here to
them.
argue.
We're not here to argue that either, but there
All right.
shouldn't be gates around
Has
that.
this board approached any of the churches in the area?
Mayor, who else is
Now,
on the
the
board? You're on
Catholic
the board,
churches are responsible for each one's own cemetery.
Okay, well, that's
St.
not a Catholic
John's,
cemetery.
St. Nicholas, St. Mary's, St. Anne's.
Ma'am, all those
Each one of those
suggestions,
have,
all
now,
those suggestions have
She
been
should have
made
been
to
here
try
before
and
to hear
seek,
this.
I've been to every meeting.
to try and
You missed
seek
a lot.
help to cut the homestead, to cut the grass, do all that kind of maintenance. We have been told repeatedly that nothing can be done until bankruptcy is filed and the judge appoints someone. So everything you're saying, we understand and we agree, but those points have all been brought up,
Have you
and that's the
contacted
answer.
the churches?
Yes, we've even gone so far as to try and get in touch with the diocese. But we are still being told the same thing. Until bankruptcy is filed, until the judge makes a decision, no one can legally enter those gates to do any maintenance in that cemetery. Am I correct?
Right. How did it
How is
get
that possible?
far?
I don't have, I have the same questions you
Council
do.
has nothing to do with the cemetery, nothing.
So excuse me, ma'am, we already went, we had this funeral director right here, who went to several churches in this area. We had a meeting, they had a Homestead Council meeting 2 months ago, I believe, and this young man came down there and spoke. So he spoke to all the churches, he spoke to the 3 councils up here, West Homestead, and Munhall. They were all supposed to get together and discuss on how to save the cemetery. So I don't know who you are, and I don't know where you're getting your information, but I think you
I'm
might
not
have.
getting it,
Saving
that's what
it isn't
I'm
the
about
issue.
here.
So what
Just
I'm
take the
telling you
gates
is
down.
we're
It's not
trying
private
the same
property.
way. And we understand that that's a Catholic. And I feel that if they can do with the Catholic, they should be able to do the other side. That's a disgrace how that cemetery looks, and it does not look good on us Munhall residents, nor does it look good to this borough, this Munhall council. It doesn't look good on West Homestead, and it doesn't look good on Homestead. I am a taxpayer. I live across the street, and it's a disgrace. I have 7 family members up there, and I have friends up there. It's a disgrace to see that you have to ride down the street and all those weeds up here. Now, if we are responsible to keep our property up, we know that somebody can come in and help us with that. That is a disgrace.
That's right.
So I don't know where you are, ma'am, and I don't want to argue, I just talk loud, but I'm trying to get my point across, because I don't know where you came from, because I've been at several meetings.
That's right.
So the questions that you're asking us, you gotta contact them, or you gotta ask this borough. This Munhall council is not interested. Some of these council members, they smile, they laugh, and this is very, very sentimental to a lot of us. We got loved ones in there.
I do too, I do too. Yes.
We just want the gates open. We'll maintain what we got.
We'll maintain
Take
it.
the gates off.
Open these gates and let us take care of our loved ones.
Just take the gates off. We'll maintain what we need to.
Did this board contact the non-Catholic
Ask
churches?
them. You're talking to us. Ask this council what they
They
did.
have nothing to do with this.
Directors of
They
the
have
cemetery.
nothing.
It's a Munhall cemetery. So when you say board, what board are you talking about? What board?
Talking about the board who supervises their
We
cemetery.
don't know. They don't even know.
That same board that you're referring to is the same people who padlocked and chained the entrances to
Exactly.
the
They
cemetery.
were here last month.
Okay, and they're not here now, they're not here now, we don't know how to get in touch with them. I don't, we've made numerous attempts to, Mayor Baldwin was kind enough to come on Saturday and explain as best he could what was going on. Mr. Brennan, is that your name, sir?
He was very
Mr. Brennan was
interested in
there
Mr.
on
Baldwin.
Saturday, we were there from 7:30 in the morning till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay, there were 90 volunteers, and that's why the cemetery looks the way it does today, because we did this.
You did a beautiful job.
Thank you.
Tell somebody- People in that cemetery.
And we will continue to maintain that cemetery as long as possible.
That's right. We will. Well, that's fine.
Let's just
That's
move,
fine.
remove the gates.
But I've been there, I go there quite often. And I go there, and there's nobody in that cemetery. So I was shocked to see that many people on Saturday.
So what days do you go? Because
Well,
there'll be
what-
people
yeah.
there in that cemetery.
Yeah, 'cause my daughter and
If
my
you look at the
grandkids
flowers
go
and
all
things that are put there, we take care of
Why
our
are you
loved
asking
ones.
us a question?
Ask them the questions, because there's only two people that is interested.
Are you at the
Mr. Winter
cemetery
and
all
Mr.
day
Barton.
long?
Ask him that, why is she asking?
Are you at the
Yeah.
cemetery all day long every day?
Order.
Very inappropriate. And I
Why
thought
you
it was
asking
3
us?
minutes.
It's out of order.
Yeah, it is out of order, but I'm gonna have the solicitor again address you people thank you for coming, because there are certain legal rights and obligations that we have, and there are certain legal rights and obligations that we don't have. And we're confined by the law. We can't just take public money and spend it on a business that goes bankrupt.
Mr.
Right,
President.
no, wait, so I'm gonna have our solicitor explain the legal position that we have to take for now.
We
Mr.
already
Solicitor.
heard that.
Dan, will you please let me just say a word about
I will, but I.
Thank you, Mr. Gardner.
That's who we should have in on that.
She's Mrs. Munhall, she does.
Telephone service. That's $4,000 a month.
And the Memorial Day program that she, and I'm the commander of, in that cemetery, she just does everything for everybody. And she needs, she needs complimented. Please don't, feel anybody's anti-anything.
We're not.
We're all learning right now.
You're the president, you're on the board, why don't you answer the question?
Right, Mr. Ambassador.
I just want to
He's on the board.
reiterate, this discussion has come up over the last several months.
Yeah, he's on the board. The mayor's on the board, why don't you answer?
As the attorney for Borough Council, they've obviously expressed to me interest and concern. And contrary to what the woman in the back of the room said, many of the council members have loved ones buried in that cemetery also. So they have serious concern about that. But in terms of what they are legally entitled to do with regard to that cemetery, of course, is a legal question. So they come to me and ask me. The cemetery is owned by a private association. It's like a private company. It's not owned by Munhall Borough. It's not run by this Borough Council. This Borough Council and the Borough of Munhall has no authority over that cemetery, has no right to go in there to maintain the property, and in fact, it cannot go in there and maintain private property. We can't go cut someone's private grass. If you don't cut your grass, we don't come in and just cut your grass or corporation's grass or anything else. We don't have the right to go in there and do that. We also don't have the right under the borough code to own and operate a cemetery. The only way that this borough could go onto that property and maintain it is by a court order. I've done the research in the law. So I've told Borough Council, we don't have the right to go on there. They have an interest in seeing that it's maintained. Again, it's not ours. The association that owns the cemetery has been here, and they spoke at a couple of meetings. A couple months ago, the president was here. And I'm relying on what the president said to this board, this body, and the public. She said that the people who have graves there and loved ones are buried there, they own that land.
Exactly.
They have the right to come in there and maintain those grave sites and maintain that property. That's what she said.
So why is the gates up?
Wait, please. I took her at her word. So my opinion is based on what she said is those citizens that are going in there to maintain their property have the right to do so according to her. She's the president of the association. How to contact her, I don't know. Until they file a petition for bankruptcy protection, they still own and operate and control. Who put up the chains?
They did.
Yeah.
They did.
This council did not. We don't
Yes,
have
sir.
the right to do
Yes,
that.
sir. One of the
They
board
shouldn't
members.
be able to.
One
I
of
can
the
tell
board
you that
members
the
told
police,
us
as you
directly that they put the chains up and they locked the gates.
Okay.
He told us that directly.
And they need to take it down.
But the police in this.
You can make them take it
borough,
down.
They're not gonna stop you from going in to maintain the grave sites as long as there's no one doing anything inappropriate or committing vandalism based on the association president's comments that you should go in and maintain your own grave sites.
Isn't
You
there
have the right
anything
to
can
do
be
that.
done though legally because she falsified information to you?
Right.
What do you mean she falsified information?
She told you we could go in there.
Well,
Those are
you're
the
going
same
in.
people,
You
those are
just
the
went
same
in.
people that had the chains and the gates
You
up
can't
there.
go.
But
So,
We can't drive it.
We can't drive
down to the grave sites, we can't,
Well,
we can't
again,
go.
it's private property. We started off by.
It's not private, we own it.
so can you,
Private,
so,
they wanna keep
We
you
own
out.
that
They can
property.
attempt to
Mr.
do that.
Solicitor, could you tell us, based on the information that you have been given, when bankruptcy is going to be filed?
I don't know. They told me it was imminent. I'm relying on what they said. I can tell you this for certain. Once they file a petition for bankruptcy protection, the control of that cemetery will be removed from the association board. They will have no power authority over that. It will be under the authority of the bankruptcy court. A bankruptcy judge will appoint a trustee, and the trustee will make all the decisions from that point forward over the board in deciding who can enter the grounds, how it will be maintained, and all those issues that are of such concern to you. I'm relying on their statement that it will be soon. I don't know when it will be filed.
So
because I
does
don't have
anyone
contact.
on council or in this room have any knowledge of how to contact this president of this board?
I do.
You do? Would you be willing to share it with me?
I'll ask her to give, if I can give you her personal phone number.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
Well,
Thank you,
I
council.
would just add to you, if you have a contract with that cemetery and you have loved ones in there, then you would certainly have the legal right to file for injunctive relief to allow you to go on to the cemetery.
Mr. Lloyd,
You
but
would have
like
to sue
my
the
first
association.
statement was, Ms. Hudspeth, she bought and paid for a plot in January, paid it off in April, and never received a deed. So what does someone in her situation do?
Same thing.
She has no proof. She was never
She
issued a
doesn't,
deed.
she doesn't have a check canceled. She just
Yeah,
paid
yeah,
cash.
no,
I
she
mean,
has a
that's-
receipt, because I'm her daughter.
Okay, well,
But
if
she
she
has
has a
a receipt.
receipt, then she could file a claim in small claims court over a certain amount, she could file it and call the
No,
police
she
court.
wants her plot next to her husband. That's what's being taken away from her. She want to be able to be buried next to her
And
husband.
that's a private legal matter for you to handle, and it can be
So
handled.
until the bankruptcy's done, can't the change, or until it's filed, why can't the chains come down? Because they haven't filed it, why are the chains up?
That's between you and the association.
It's private property. If they have the right to chain their property.
But you just stated we own the property.
She did. It's contradictory from what she said here, and then the placement of chains. I can only speculate, and someone told me it's hearsay that the bankruptcy attorney suggested they put chains up to protect themselves from liability issues. It sounds like something an attorney would say, as I know, so maybe they put the chains up. Because it was
What do the chains do?
it's contrary to what she said.
Yes, it is. Yes, sir.
Just put a sign up, enter it on risk.
Yeah. You can enforce that. That's our property. We're asking you to let us into our property. That's all we're asking. We're not asking us to maintain it, just let us in.
Yeah, but one at a time.
We're not gonna resolve this issue, it's not our issue yet. Cheryl Chapman, you wanna come and speak?
Can I say one thing
No.
to the police, to the chief of police? If we go over there, will they try to arrest us or do anything if we're going over there to maintain our loved ones?
We don't, if you're in there for the intended purpose of being there, if you're not
Clean
there
up.
breaking the law, we're not gonna bother you.
Okay.
If we get a call, if someone calls and say there's someone in there trespassing, and they are an authorized person, then we'll deal with it then. But we've gotten no calls like that. We had a whole cemetery full of people up there on Saturday. Not one complaint was made. I had a lady from a headstone place come stop in my office yesterday and ask me the same thing. She has to go put a headstone in. I said, go right ahead. If you have any problems, call us.
The problem is, how do you drive trucks or vehicles through these
Handicap
states?
people.
That I can't answer, it's not our property.
Yes, sir, I
can't tell you.
understand. But I just wanted to make you all aware of our frustrations. Maybe you are aware of that, but a lot of people don't seem to be. We've got a Borough Solicitor, sir, like you said, there are indeed contradictions. And we happen to deal with that every day, along with the concerns. But we do thank you for your time. We came here to be peaceful and express our concerns, and thank you for listening. Thank you.
Support.
Sure.
Good evening, I'm Cheryl Chapman, I live in 112 7th Avenue. I'm president of the Three Boroughs Group, we're a CDC that's been together for a year and a half, and we just received a grant from Allegheny County. And our intention is to upgrade the lighting on the business district, 8th Avenue, and then also put more garbage cans out on the avenue. So I'm saying that we're formally introducing ourselves, but here is David Lewis, and
With the petitioner. I'm not on Facebook.
I'll see him.
Very good, your presentation, but nobody's raised the question, who's getting income from that
Can't wait for that damn.
Got a spot.
Would you like closing the doors so we can all hear? Thank you so much. Okay, we have another speaker, Michael Aldrich. Michael, would you come to the podium?
You know, council, this is getting to be a real live joke. I can almost get it here. But I was here last month when the manager did take 5-10 minutes to give all the reasons why he could not help the cemetery. That was fine. But then he did agree that he was going to meet with the managers of the other boroughs. And yes, Ms. Merrill and Bill was here from the cemetery, and he would meet with them. Where I'm perplexed is, why did you call and cancel that it was going to be a private meeting, so the cemetery board was not even present at that meeting? So how could you get information about what's wrong with the cemetery, why it's wrong, if you told them not to even come to the meeting? Mayor, was you at the meeting?
No.
Hell, he's on the board. So you're to know nothing about the cemetery, but you have a meeting. How much is Mario Mew selling the penguins for? I'm sure that's what you discussed, because you could not have had. And these secret meetings do need to stop. I was here last month, doggone it, when that 428 was on the demolition list. Hell, it got taken off after the meeting. This is the next meeting from June. These secret meetings need to stop. I'm very serious. We're getting tired, or faces need to change. This is no joke. This is our money. 428, 3 years ago, did have a $28,000 bid. I was sitting right over there when it was done. And it had a roof on it. It don't even have a roof on it now. Come up with $70,000, somebody's putting $56,000 in their pocket. And I said, we need to help the people in this community. You know, if you were going to have a meeting about the cemetery and the board was willing to be there, you should at least listen and then came back here in July with a conscientious decision that you three made, even if it was negative. But you sat down and talked to the people who were involved and then say, hey, okay, we've heard you. We've heard how you got into this problem. We don't know what we can do about it, but we heard you. I'm going back to council and talk about it. But to not meet with the people who could give you the answers is, I think, is a wrong thing to do. And we're not getting anywhere this way. I mean, council, it's not a joke. Election time, we need to start thinking about that. The joke is over. You got a summer program, you got kids cutting grass. Why can't they? Cemetery is real estate. They don't own the cemetery. They own 3 by 7. That's what a grave is, unless they bought a plot for 3, 4, 5, 6 graves. Yes, they do own that. Just that spot where their loved one is buried. I'm a funeral director of 47 years, so you can't tell me anything about what I don't know, because I do know. All right, so they do own where the grass is at.
More time?
Mine.
Would you like more time?
Yes, would you like?
Yes. Oh, okay, I didn't know, I didn't know if that beat was me.
Does
Oh, there it is, I'm
Does
sorry.
anybody on council
But-
oppose to giving Mr. Aldridge more
No,
time?
not at all. Not at all.
We're gonna give you more time.
So the people can go in there, Ms. Mara was not wrong, they can go in there and cut their lot. I mean, I've seen people, one of my employees, he went up there with a lawnmower and went in and he cut his parents' lot and somebody beside theirs. So there's nothing wrong with that, because it is on borough property. I didn't say it belonged to the borough.
The problem is the chain.
It's in your town.
It's a chain.
Well, I mean, but yeah, they had to do that for their liability, but they're gone now, so if the chain disappears tomorrow, so what the heck? You know, if he didn't see them steal the chain, you know, then what the heck? They had to do it, yes, for their liability. But, I mean, the chain's gone. People need to take care of their loved ones and take care of their grave. The biggest problem is now, yes, and people can still bury up there if they own the ground. You cannot go up there and now say, I want to bury grandma, you know, and I don't have a grave already purchased, but anything that's already purchased and paid for, you can bury your loved one there tomorrow. Your funeral director got to work it out.
Hey, Mike, I have a question for you. What if you bury someone in the wrong lot? Because when I purchased property at St. Mary Magdalene Cemetery, when my first wife died, they did not know where the lots were up there. That's how bad it was run at one time. And I'm imagining that a lot of that's still going on at Homestead Cemetery. So now you're gonna have a problem where Mr. Vodadine gets buried in a lot.
No time.
There is a
And we don't know if he's in the right lot. So now I'm the owner, I come out of town, and I see Rick Bodadine's buried in my lot. What am I gonna do?
Two things. It has occurred. It has occurred. And I'm gonna tell you what one cemetery did. They gave the people another lot and then gave them minute money, but gave them something like that. But that was the whole idea. I know it wasn't a brilliant proposal. You could have tweaked it and made it your own idea and you've been made president of the United States. But it wasn't a bad idea of keeping Bill up there because he had worked it out and kept it. He knew where every grave was or how to find graves, and he was ciphering out all the paperwork that he had gotten, I guess, from the Piper family, you know, after Bob died. So he was working all that out. Now we've lost an individual. You're talking about reinventing the wheel again, and that's just dumb. Like I said, it was just a proposal of all three boroughs giving a man 10 grand apiece, and he would never close those gates. He'd been up there every day. And he was cutting that grass by himself.
Mike,
Yes.
the solicitor has said 2 consecutive meetings, it's illegal for us to do that.
You know
What
what?
part of that
There's
is
so
illegal?
much
I don't
done
get it.
illegal around here. Give me a break.
No, it's,
Just like taking 428 off
it's
the
illegal
left.
for us to do that, that's bottom line. You can call it, believe me, we can call
Okay,
it.
but you know what? You're associated with Munhall. You're sitting on this council, not me.
For a few more months, I will, believe me.
Well, okay, but you were associated with it, and that's in your town. If you don't care what happens in your town,
Oh, we absolutely care about it, no doubt.
then there's things that can be done. You can manipulate until the paperwork
You say
is
manipulate
done.
or do something illegal.
Time is up.
Yeah.
Does everybody, do you want to give, Michael, would you like to speak some more?
I'm
If
fine.
you have any questions, I'll
Is
answer
anybody
them.
opposed to
I'd like to
giving?
make a comment to you,
More
Mike.
time.
Oh,
Talk
yes.
with you up there. You're here, we're here.
Mike, now, you said about the Bill was his name? Was the-
Bill was here last night.
Yeah,
with
okay,
Miss
yeah, I
Mary.
understand.
Yes.
Right. Now, there's records he got, one of Bob Piper gave him the records.
No, Bob didn't
And
get him. He got him after
Bill Dell
Bob
probably
died.
gave Bob Piper the records. I understand who died.
Uh-huh.
Right, they, you know, Bill Dell died too. But they all had records of that cemetery, a big map of that cemetery, just like any other one. And they have the lots here, lots here. Where is that?
Bill said he was going to, the Historical Society is supposed to maintain them. He's not taking them home and put them in his.
Where is that record at? Where is that big map of the whole place that got everybody's plot on it? Everybody got a plot is there on a map.
It was in the garage.
Well, I doubt if it's in the garage now, and he said he was going to turn it over to the Historical
When it started
Society.
in
They
Bill
were going
Dell,
to maintain
it
it.
went to Bob Piper, now this is Bill. There's one big map of that whole cemetery, and it shows you every part of the cemetery, who got plots there. Where is that?
I'm only guessing from what I read on every bit. I saw, it sounds like
The
Mifflin
people that
Township
were here that
Historical
could have
Society
answered
may
it
be
didn't want to
holding it until
speak.
this is resolved.
Yeah.
Oh, they're
That's what I
holding
think.
Sorry?
I think the Mifflin Township Historical Society may be holding it until this is
Yes,
resolved.
and that's correct, because he didn't want to hold it, and they said they would take care of it and protect it.
Right, protect it.
And that's
Once
what's
resolved, then they
necessary.
will.
Once it's resolved, they got it. Well, that tells you where everybody's plot is, like you was asking.
Right.
If you don't
They're
have
all
your
numbers.
deeds, if you don't have your deeds, you're gonna need the cemetery's records. The cemetery have a copy of the deed and the family have a copy.
Right.
I'm trying to assist the family as we speak. They put the burial off for a week. For a week, because they can't find their deed and the property's already bought and paid for and they wanted to bury this weekend. They put it off till next week.
But if you-
That's the mess you
But
got.
if you had that map with the records that showed lot number
No, no.
329, that lady's name, she owns that lot.
Okay, that map's we're just gonna tell you all the plots in the cemetery. A deed is gonna tell you which one you
The deeds are
own.
with them plots.
Okay.
That map, that deed's gonna be there. You go to the map here,
And
it shows you, oh,
you know,
the
back
top
then-
circle, the bottom part, up on the hill, and then it's gonna tell you the name of the person, what plot.
You're
They
saying
own
that
it.
there should be like a name in the block where the plot is.
If Bob did it that way.
Yeah, I don't know.
These old guys, you know, these old guys
It
knew
was
the
that way from-
cemetery better than you knew your fingers on your hand, and they'll just say, you could bury there, you bury there, you bury.
Yeah.
That's how good they
And it
were.
started with, years ago with Bill Dell. That was my uncle, Bill Dell, okay? He was the first one there, that I can remember, all right? And he had records, and the same thing with Malcolm. I used to cut grass there. Then Bob Piper, okay? He married my cousin. That ain't nothing to do with me, I'm just saying he married my cousin.
You on the board?
But he had records too. He had records too. So this Bill gotta have records. And that's what you need to find. My
Well, he's
time's
turned them
up.
over to the
You got the cell phone tower.
No,
Michael,
no, it's nothing to do with that.
I have one thing to say. All the heat we've taken here over the last couple of weeks, would you think there was any mismanagement on part of that board? I believe there absolutely was.
Well, you know what,
Come on
Jim,
now.
you're going, but hold on.
Consensus is
Alright.
divided.
There's a good possibility. What they did wrong from day one, so that's 1886.
Okay.
Okay, they did not have a perpetual care plan.
Okay.
All right, so a perpetual care plan would have meant, I'm gonna make up a dumb figure. Let's say the grave costs $300. Then 120 of it, 110 of it should have been put away in a trust fund because you got buried in 1886. Hell, they're still cutting his grass.
Right.
Okay?
How we didn't cover the cost?
But it don't cover the cost. All right, so, and then you have to go out and pound the pavement and try to do pre-need, sell more graves. No different than Jefferson does, Allegheny, Homewood, all those others. You have to pound the pavement and try to sell.
Did they do that?
Well,
Apparently
I
not.
don't know, I've never been on the
Well,
board.
I consider that mismanagement when they didn't do their due diligence.
Well, you're not
has a
gonna
right to
disagree,
sue the
but
board.
the new managers has only been there for a couple of years. You know, but you can't fix something in 2 years that's been wrong for 80, 100.
Hallelujah.
You know, you can't do that. You know, so, but that's yesterday. What we have to try to do is find a way to help you now that you can keep something regardless. Hey, Mr. Code Man, I mean, what's the fine when the grass gets over 3 inches? $1,000. Munhall Borough's gonna own that land, it's on their land. That property is sitting in Munhall Borough.
That's not our land. That's private land. Just like
It ain't gonna be,
my home
Mr.
will.
Solicitor, it's gonna be private land here when it goes into bankruptcy.
My home is in Munhall Borough.
Still private.
My home is in Munhall Borough. It's not, my home doesn't own it. Doesn't own the land.
Yes, they do, don't pay the taxes. Oh, and the taxes aren't paid on 4/28, they haven't been paid in 3 years either. Check it out. 4/28/9, the taxes are behind over 3 years. That's another thing.
Just one comment, it's tough to operate a cemetery on 6 funerals. all year
Absolutely.
this year. Last year they had 20-some. You just can't do it.
Can't do it.
You need $80,000-$90,000 to operate, to cut, salt, and do the things
And
that.
I never got a straight answer, what happens to the cell phone time on it? I have 3 or 4 different answers.
Okay, and I did ask about that. They got $65,000 for the cell tower. All right? All but 25,000 of it was spent on repaving the roads, because you did have good roads in that
And I was told just
cemetery.
the opposite. I was told by my former board member, they were getting $40-some hundred a month.
Until it was sold, I would imagine. So that was under Bob Piper. We can't go and dig him up and ask questions to him.
Only one
You know,
that can answer
I don't
that
know.
one is the SBA.
Right, but the cell tower people bought the property, it now belongs to them.
Is
I'm
everybody
sorry.
opposed to giving him more time?
I'll give a few on this.
Okay, continue.
Yeah, but okay, the cell tower was sold. Cell tower people bought that property. You know, why, how, I don't know. You know, but they bought it. The majority of the money was paid, paved the roads. I think there was 25,000 that was left, and that went in the maintenance and salaries
Because the
and
planning
insurance
commission
and
and this
whatnot.
council gave them permission to put the cell phone tower up with the idea it would help keep the cemetery afloat. I believe that was 13 or 14 years ago. And all of a sudden, that money's no longer available to them. And that's my question. I was in planning commission meetings, and sitting here on council, this would be good for the cemetery, to at least have availability of finances
Oh,
to keep
$4,000 a month was nice money.
Right,
50 grand
And all of a
year.
sudden, that was never heard of again.
Excuse me,
Was
sir.
you on the board when it was sold? One person can answer that, SBA or what's
Right.
No, there's a board member that's still alive.
There was
There's still a board member that's
a
still alive.
report that was sent out that whoever had the authority to sell that piece of property, for the cell tower, okay, that it was sold, that person bought it back and resold it and gained the income for himself.
Does that sound right to you? Not to me.
It doesn't sound right to me, but it was, I read it.
Right.
I read it.
I kinda heard that too.
Yes,
Did it
sir.
say who the person was?
He was a board member, wasn't
I don't, I
heard he was a
think
board
so.
member.
he? And then he retired. That's what.
Oh, then you still won't come
It
out.
used to be going
I didn't
around.
mean to be
I
standing.
also heard that the board members were taking a salary out of the cemetery
I
for
don't
years.
have-
And I also heard that they did have a perpetual care fund that was depleted. Right, so I think there's been big time mismanagement, and I think that someone needs to look and see what transpired with the sale of that tower.
Thank you,
And
Mr.
if it was done legally or not legally.
But wasn't that the perfect time when he had the meeting last month,
They
last
didn't
Friday?
know, they were here, we asked them that. They said, this was dropped in our lap. We didn't know any of this prior, we're not privy to that. And we were told that there was one living member from the board prior to this new board. Am I correct in saying? Right, one member.
Rick, I'm gonna correct you. You knew over a year ago, Greg will tell you that too. You knew that cemetery was having difficulty, that eventually,
I-
that's why I made the comment.
I disagree with you, Mayor.
Well, you
Don't
knew
drag us into
a
that.
year
You were
ago-
on the board,
You
you knew
were
what was
there.
going on. Don't point your finger at me and tell me
year
that I
ago.
knew what was going on in
You
your
did.
cemetery.
You did.
I did not.
You did. And
You
the
knew,
solicitor
you
did.
were on the board,
I
you're
was
to
on the
blame
board
for it.
2 years.
Don't-
and I
don't
was on
yell
the
at me,
board
buddy.
To help this.
No
board.
way, you brought it down on Munhall Borough, not anyone else but you.
No, you did.
You were on the board, not Rick Brennan.
You did.
Don't lie to me and tell me that in front of public and say that to me, pal.
Well, I'll tell
'Cause
you
you're
what,
wrong.
You knew about it a year ago.
I
because
did
the
not know
solicitor
about it a
knew
year
about it.
I
ago.
could jump in.
And it's
Mr. Brennan, you
council.
just came
And
on
I have a
board last
letter
year.
here from January 14th, says you knew about it.
You can take that
It's
letter
in the
and
bond
wipe your
count.
rear end with it. You knew exactly what was going on a year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. You were on the board. No, we're not done yet, Ray. How long ago did you know about the board being bankrupt?
Never.
Never.
I sat on the board and attempted to get representative.
So don't tell me.
Representative. Well, don't tell me.
Don't point your finger at me ever again, pal. Don't do it.
Because you're wet behind
I'm wet behind you.
We're grown adults here.
We're not grown adults. Ray Bodner is accusing Munhall Council of knowing what was going on with that cemetery, which we had no financial reports. No one spoke to Munhall Council. They said, we're having trouble up there. That's not saying we're going bankrupt. A month before that happened, we were told it was going bankrupt. That's no time frame to tell someone we're going bankrupt.
January.
So I put it on your desk, Greg. You should have told us a year and a half ago that they were going bankrupt. No, sir. No, sir, Greg. Don't walk away from your responsibility.
Here's the letter.
It was you.
I'm the only one that copied this letter. It says to Bob Callen, and council didn't get it. Here it is, January 14th.
Of what year, Greg?
This year.
So that's not a year ago, is it?
That's 6 months ago.
6 months isn't enough time, Greg.
Order,
Last year.
Can we act like adults, please?
We're not here saying that this is y'all fault. We're not saying this is y'all fault.
You're the liar.
Address the issue about the letter.
This is very ironic, because we're adults here, this needs to be. You mean honestly.
I would like to address the letter that the mayor mentioned, and everyone got a memo on that. Although it was dated January, we did not receive it until May.
Thank you.
I do not open the mail.
This is amazing. Yet it's
Did not
addressed
see
to
the letter.
him, and I got the copy.
Is it addressed to the council?
No,
It's addressed to the manager.
Thank you very much, Greg.
Addressed to the borough manager, Borough Munhall.
Well, I don't even want to sit there with you tonight. You know why? Because I'm ashamed that you're part of that whole thing.
Well, Mr. Crawford, you came with a request tonight. Do you want to make your request now? I'm good. You're good? Okay, we have one more item.
I have one more letter from council, anticipating that the federal bankruptcy court may, according to the law, dictate that council will be responsible for the maintenance of the cemetery at some point. We made an arrangement with the First Commonwealth Bank to set up a maintenance and repair fund. There are a number of fundraising efforts out there, some of which are very suspect. We are setting up a fund through the First Commonwealth Bank. And if and when anyone wants to contribute, it goes to the financial institution, not the Munhall Borough. Those funds will be used for the maintenance of the cemetery, whenever the bankruptcy judge rules us.
Could you say that again? You didn't hear that, some of that.
Please. Can we have one meeting?
He brought it up. And they didn't even, you guys left before.
The council heard
Ladies,
it?
ladies.
Hello?
The council
We have
heard
one
it.
meeting. She didn't hear what he's saying because you're having your own meeting. If you want to have your own meeting, I'd suggest that you go outside. Thank you.
This was addressed to council, anticipating that the federal bankruptcy judge will dictate that Munhall Borough will be responsible for the maintenance of that land. I did set up a maintenance repair fund through First Commonwealth Bank. There are a number of fundraising efforts out there, some of which are suspect. Any funds that we receive will go right to the banking institution with accountability of those dollars. This may take months before it happens, but I just want council to know we're setting up that fund in a reputable institution. So,
Who's going to be in charge of that fund?
well, the president and vice president and council have to sign it, and just like any of our accounts, 2 officers have to sign it for any disbursement. Right now, the First Commonwealth will be our trustee of those dollars.
So encourage those people that are on Facebook and those people that are tweeting and those people that are making Facebook posts and those persons that are signing petitions to send in a check. I'll put up the first $100 in the fund, and I'm sure Mr. Brennan will do the same. Send money.
President Lloyd, now that we're aware of it, we can start to do that. You can't fund something you don't know about. So, thank you.
And President, can you also maybe get in contact, because I remember like, Munhall Council, Homestead Council and West Homestead Council, you guys were all supposed to get together, so could they get that information too, to know, like, so that they can tell the Homestead residents about this fund and stuff, because people are interested.
We will let them know.
Once it is established, there
Yes.
will be a press release on that. Right now, it's not established.
Okay.
With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Ballas. Second by Mr. Walls. All those in favor? Aye.
I was just making sure.
Yeah, I don't like to give up.